TikTok. So 81% of the House came together so quickly too. Even though, yes, this has been about 4 years that they've been talking about banning TikTok, but now, boom, spearheaded by Republican Congressman Mike Gallagher, and with support from both sides. It's interesting because this issue is not falling along party lines. You have both Republicans and Democrats who are eager to ban TikTok, but then you also have Republicans, Democrats, and progressives who are against this. And of course, Donald Trump, who in 2020 was going to get rid of TikTok. Well, he tried to, or he wanted to. Now he's flipped and said he's against this because he's looking at the election year that is this year and going, I think I can get some young voters on my side on this TikTok issue. It is wild to me. It is wild to me how risky the Democrats are acting during an election year. It makes me think, do you guys want to lose? What you are doing during an election year feels incredibly, incredibly risky with voters. Truly. Seriously, yes, they really do. I mean, my God, you're going to ban the most popular social media or when they say not ban, let's be fucking real. Byte is not going to sell TikTok. And if they don't sell TikTok in 6 months, like if this passes through the Senate and is signed off on by President Biden, who has said he will, then TikTok is going to be banned off of app stores. Anyway.
Welcome to the News Hour. The U.S. House voted overwhelmingly today to pass a bill that could ban TikTok here in the U.S. unless the app cuts ties with China.
It's been so interesting between the genocide and between TikTok, how many American voters, especially young voters, are going, we see you, government. We see you, people who pretend that they care about us, that they're doing everything in our interests. And we see the two things that you come together on and that you come together on swiftly. And they are not things that actually protect us. Like we see and smell your bullshit.
The bill now heads to the Senate, where its fate is at the moment unclear. Last night, we heard from the lead sponsors of the bill about why the legislation is necessary. Tonight, we hear from an opposing voice, and for that, we're joined by David Green, Civil Liberties Director and Senior Staff Attorney at the Electronic Frontier Foundation. Mr. Green, thanks so much for being with us. And
it's literally just America saying, no, only we can have government. Right. Like, hello, any person who lives in this country knows that our data is being bought and sold every single day. Every one of these social media platforms, every one of these apps, like they all are harnessing and selling our data for billions of dollars, okay? We are being tracked. Our privacy is being violated, and yet we have no data transparency laws. Like where are those bills? Where are actual bills to protect us from all of this stuff? No, it's only about banning TikTok because of Chinese communism. Because if we don't ban TikTok, then the Chinese Communist Party will exert their foreign influence on the 150 or however many Americans use TikTok. And we can't have that happening. Oh, but you don't have a problem when it happens on Facebook or with Twitter or any of these fucking social media platforms. And you want to know why Elon Musk is against this? Because he fucking knows. He knows that he's in the same fucking boat here. He's looking at his Saudi investment money, okay? The Saudis own 4% of Twitter, all right? And Elon Musk is looking at this and going, oh boy, yeah, I can't have this happening. And it's like, okay, foreign influence, really? This is something I tweeted about, where I went, the absolute irony in our government saying we have to protect Americans from foreign influence, when it's like, y'all, really? Really? The lobbying money that you take, so then you make decisions to help foreign powers. Pro-Israel lobbying being one of the biggest examples of that. Okay? It's like, wow. So much of the decisions that are made in Congress around Israel is coming straight from the pro-Israel lobbying groups who are funding these politicians and who are preventing either anti-Israel politicians from continuing to remain in office or like preventing future ones. Look no further than someone like John Fetterman. You know, John Fetterman flipped like that. So just the irony in saying, oh, we need to be protected from foreign influence when this shit happens all the time. And one of the biggest, what's the word I'm looking for? Consumers, or the group of people who are having foreign influence exerted on them, are the same politicians who are voting to ban something like TikTok. I love Nancy Pelosi. Tic-tac-toe. We're going to make TikTok better. It's going to be tic-tac-toe. Yeah, they're okay with it as long as it's American companies who control it. And that's why big American tech are like, yes, we want TikTok. We want it gone. We want it gone. We want to have our hands in it. As well as the politicians that have stocks and companies competing with TikTok. Right, I know. I actually saw, okay, you know what? We should start off with this. Okay, where is it? Fuck. Oh, I'm running in bookmarks. I'm sure some of you have seen this. This guy goes off, by the way. Okay, warning loud. Warning very loud.
I have been screaming for so long about the TikTok ban that I am out of screams. This is me actually angry. 352 members of the United States House of Representatives voted to ban TikTok today. That's 81%. I want you to think about the last time you heard 81% of our Congress agreeing on anything. Think about anything for the last 4 years. 81%. Shit, to pick the Speaker of the House, it took 18 votes, and he barely got through. Remember that? Remember how many times this year alone, we've had to have votes for the Speaker of the House? But TikTok ban, they're right there. They are voting to ban the complaint box rather than listen to a single complaint on this fucking app. They see us talking to each other. They see us seeing the humanity in each other's eyes. I don't care if you got a red hat or a fucking septum piercing. I hear your complaints and I see the world you're standing in. I'm not reading your tweet out of context. I'm listening to your voice. I've learned so much from this app over the last 2 years, and the biggest thing was to stop judging my fellow Americans like they are on some other fucking team. We are all just countrymen walking around together. We're all just people trying to get to the end of the day. We're all trying to make enough money so we can raise our kids, kiss them on the forehead, and hope that when we send them to school, they come home tomorrow. That's all we fucking want. And instead, has our Congress done anything to move forward on a Voting Rights Act? No. To make sure women can have health care? No. Maternity leave? No. The minimum wage has been stuck at the same fucking amount for 15 years. Have we moved forward on any of these things? No. But we can get 81% of the most corrupt motherfuckers to walk around directly from their country clubs to go to their government job with their government paycheck, with their fucking government car that I fucking paid for. And they can go onto the floor of the House of fucking Representatives that we all fucking pay for it and tell us, no, we're doing it to protect your data. We're doing it because we're worried about the algorithm. Meanwhile, my data has been stolen 16 times in the last 5 years. You want to know how I know that? Because I've been in 16 class action lawsuits about my stolen fucking data that I didn't even know was stolen. One day I open the mail and there's a fucking mailer with a check for $5. Sorry, your fucking data got stolen. Your social security was found on the dark web because some chuckle fuck couldn't follow a goddamn regulation that was written in 1973.
I like that he gets
I am 39 years old. I have been told my entire fucking life that we need 60 votes in this goddamn Senate. And they're about to find it. We didn't have 60 votes to protect any other shit. We got kids going to school every fucking day, terrified they're not gonna go home. We got kids not wanting to give up their phones, not because of TikTok, because they're worried if somebody comes into their school, they want to be able to call their fucking parents to say goodbye. Any movement? Do we have 352 congressmen worried about that shit? No. But oh no, a bunch of tech bros want to buy up all the TikTok data and use it to train AI models to put more people out of work? No, put me in Congress. Fucking put me in Congress then. Write my name the fuck in. I'll line up. I'll take all of their fucking money. I'll take all that goddamn lobbyist money. And you know what? I'll make sure it says paid brand deal in the bottom corner. Because when you're a fucking influencer, you have to disclose where the money comes from. But when you're a congressman, that's the price of freedom.
Yeah, man. My Melody Sinna, thank you for the 10 months. Skill Cylinder, thank you for the 19 months. I felt his anger in my soul. I felt his fucking anger in my soul, and I feel like people who watch this will also will also feel that anger deep in their souls. Handro Ra, thank you so much for the 18 months, because our Congress has shown us with how they mobilized on this TikTok ban. Okay, that is absolutely to do as well with the pro-Israel lobbying groups. Okay, make no fucking mistake about that. That how they can mobilize on this, and 81% of them can come together on this, not on anything else. Oh, it's always the claims that the other side is blocking our progress. Oh, we can't do this because isn't that, and yet you guys can come the fuck together for this, for banning TikTok because it's not owned by an American company that can then be the ones that are stealing our data even more, that are making cajillions of dollars off of this, that are controlling the algorithm like fucking Meta does, so that it suppresses information that is contrary to what our government is standing for. They want it to be like Meta, where it will suppress pro-Palestinian content. Because that's not what's been happening on TikTok. And pro-Palestinian content on TikTok by far and away surpasses pro-Israeli content because of how many young people use TikTok. And granted, I have gone on and on about my TikTok issues, of course. But it's like every social media platform, okay? There's disinformation that's rampant. There's, problems with addiction. That is separate, though, from what is happening here, where it is not a matter of protecting us, the American people. No, it's about them having control, and it's about censorship. The very thing that they're, so Chinese Communist Party and their censorship. That's what y'all motherfuckers are trying to do here. So funny they claim this about China and then they do it themselves. Exactly. They're like, communist China, what the fuck do you think you're doing with this? How are you any different? And these racist assholes like Tom Cotton grilling the Singaporean CEO and being like, yeah, but do you have ties to the Communist Chinese Party? And he's like, I'm Singaporean. They're like, yeah, but you're Chinese. Enough. No, it's bullshit. They hate that they can't control TikTok like they do TV. Yes, exactly. Oh, you want to protect Americans from disinformation? How about fucking Fox News? Oh, but that's okay. How about, like, name any social media platform? Truly. Literally last name Kwan, I know. I have that clip. I'll play it for you guys. But it is, I mean, this is something where he's right when he's saying, I don't care if you have a red hat. I don't care if you have a septum. Like, I don't care where you fall. It is the working class versus the ruling class. And when people wake up to that, that is when real fucking progress happens, okay? Because it is not us versus us. It's us versus them. And what they have brilliantly done is to convince us, the working class, that it is us versus us. That's what they have done here. It's not us versus them. No, they have convinced people on both sides here. It's us versus us. And I don't mean this as in, like, I know it can be frustrating to excuse, like, this is not excusing bad behavior, okay, from people who, you know, have their politics are like, oh, I hate Mexicans, all right, or I am against immigration. Like, you're still responsible for that, but we have to look at where these fears come from. Who benefits from stoking these fears? Who benefits from convincing, you know, people in this country that their enemy is not the people in charge, the people who are making it so that they don't have a nice life where they don't have to worry about going into debt, going bankrupt if God forbid something happens to them health-wise, which we are all one accident away from. All right? No. It's convincing them, here, that's who your enemy is. That's who the problem is. It's easier to cut off water than storm the Bastille. Yes, and so something about TikTok is TikTok, for all its problems, has also been very, very vital to people in this country, and especially young people, learning about shit that has been suppressed from them or that has been twisted in the form of propaganda and fed to them for their entire lives. TikTok was a way for people to learn and to share things and to share different perspectives and to show, like, hey, this is me, and you know, here's who I am, and here's my story, and here's what you know I want you to know. And the government hasn't been able to control that. Like, imagine how much we wouldn't know about Palestine right now without TikTok. Yeah, it by far and away of all the social media platforms, it has been the one that has allowed pro-Palestinian content to live and to be shared. And that is why you see the difference between a TikTok and, you know, and Facebook or Instagram, where all of that shit, all of it is it's being suppressed. Like, if you know, here, this isn't just me giving my opinion. Here's Human Rights Watch. Meta's broken promises. Systemic censorship of Palestine content on Instagram and Facebook. Censorship. That's what this is about. Meta's policies and practices have been silencing voices in support of Palestine and Palestinian human rights on Instagram and Facebook in a wave of heightened censorship of social media amid the hostilities between Israeli forces and Palestinian armed groups that began on October 7, 2023. This systemic online censorship has risen against the backdrop of unprecedented violence, including an estimate. Okay, anyway, I just wanted to show you that this isn't just me pulling this out of my ass. Meta suppressing peaceful expression on Palestinian content. Yeah, this is what's fucking going on here. And it is it is bullshit to say that this is not about censorship. And that's why it is so ironic that politicians are citing China and China's censorship as this, big terrible thing that we have to protect Americans from, so China doesn't exert their influence on Americans, when it's really because America wants to make sure that if anyone, it's like, if anyone's gonna have sex with my sister, it's gonna be me. It's like, if anybody's gonna influence Americans and suppress information and censor them, it's gonna be me. It's gonna be me. Yep. Didn't Elon? Yes, the Saudi owns 4% of Twitter. They're the second largest owner of Twitter. Yes, so that's why Elon Musk has come out and been like, I'm not for this. But it's amazing to see free speech warriors and people who are against all forms of censorship, like Bari Weiss, who we already know this woman is a fucking hypocrite until the day that she dies. Like, being for the TikTok ban. Yeah, it's like, oh, Barry, wasn't your whole freaking thing when you were at the New York Times about how censorship and cancel culture and not having freedom of speech was the worst thing facing America? Wasn't that what you built your whole career around? Oh, but yet you are totally for getting rid of TikTok. I wonder why. I'm personally surprised with Meta. What do you mean as far as like Meta suppressing Palestinian content? OMG, China's influence got to us. Like, how about, if you want to look at a platform where China was actually exerting influence, like very tangible influence that we could see, Facebook. Remember in 2017, the Rohingya genocide, that people were going on Facebook and flooding Facebook with disinformation. And sorry, Rohingya, obviously that's Myanmar, but the Uyghurs. Yes, the Uyghur genocide. Like sorry, I'm trying to get my genocide straight here. Yes. Where you have foreign entities who use social media platforms that are owned by American tech giants exerting their influence. Russia. Like, okay, but yet we gotta ban TikTok. Also during the early days of the Ukrainian war with Russia. Yes. Or the fucking 2016 election. My God. And those are just a couple of examples, okay?
You, as I understand it, opposed this bill on First Amendment grounds. We spoke last night with the lead sponsors of that legislation, as I mentioned, Congressman Gallagher and Krishnamurthy. And Congressman Krishnamurthy said of China's practices that there's no First Amendment right to espionage. There's no First Amendment right to harm our national security. Why is he wrong, in your view?
He's not thinking about the First Amendment rights of U.S. people who want to use TikTok and their right to communicate with each other through it and to receive information from TikTok in the way they receive it now. U.S. people certainly have a right to use communications tools like TikTok to get information from them, and to put out info and to use them to disseminate their own information. So I understand that Representative Krishnamurthy is very concerned about the First Amendment rights of China, but that's really not what we're concerned about. We're concerned about the First Amendment rights of U.S. users.
Doesn't China present
the fact that Nancy was talking about the Uyghur genocide when we are literally aiding and abetting it? Yeah, no, it's just, oh wow, we just got blinders on. Okay, when it comes
special
to
case?
genocide.
The FBI director Christopher Wray said that China is the defining threat of this generation, and the Chinese Communist Party requires Chinese companies to share information and user data upon request. That's the perceived threat that TikTok poses.
China.
Well, that doesn't really make, I defer to the FBI director on the threat posed by China in particular, but I will note that China is not unique in requiring its companies to provide information to them upon request. The U.S. does much of the same thing through national security letters, and through surveillance conducted under Executive Order 12333. There's a whole congressional debate going on now about the proposed renewal of Section 702 surveillance. So the U.S. has many of these same tools. China is not unique among nations in requiring companies located in it to provide internet user data. Now, if China does pose some particular threats, the U.S.
Bro, TikTok uses these same data tracking methods as all of these apps, all of them. I don't really want to support a TikTok ban, but man, the brain rot on there is so bad. Look, I have said tonight and many a time that there are serious problems with social media apps like TikTok. Okay, as there are with all social media, there are specific issues to TikTok, but it does not mean that a ban on TikTok is the right move here. And in fact, if you look at the language here in the bill, okay, so this is something that a lot of people have been talking about. This bill gives the federal government the power to label and criminalize owning or maintaining any website, computer, mobile app, or software that gets labeled as a foreign adversary controlled application in the broadest possible terms. So the president will have the ability to determine if something is a foreign adversary, and therefore the U.S. government has the right to censor it. If you look at the language here, the term foreign adversary controlled application means a website, desktop application, mobile application, or augmented or immersive technology application that's operated directly or indirectly, including through a parent company's subsidiary or affiliate. It shall be prohibition of foreign adversary controlled applications. It shall be unlawful for the entity to distribute, maintain, or update a foreign adversary control application by carrying out within the land or maritime borders of the United States any of the following: providing services to distribute, maintain, or update such foreign adversary controlled application, including any source code of such application by means of a marketplace. So like this is it's so broad, and it's under the discretion of the president, which means this could be anything. Okay? Al Jazeera, for instance, all right? Al Jazeera, which has been really important in providing the perspective of Palestinians and providing information that, you know, is typically not seen or heard in Western mainstream media. They could they could like exercise censorship over this, or basically anyone speaking out against the government. It's very bad. Like, I don't think you have to know much about the law or understand everything that's happening here to hear this and see the danger in it, and see like the Patriot Actness of this, and the slippery slope, the bad precedent. In a worst case scenario, the bill is written broadly enough that being accused of spreading Russian disinformation could lead to the U.S. government seizing or banning your company. Yeah.
Can react to it. The question is whether forcing the sale or banning this platform from operating as it currently operates is the properly tailored way of addressing that threat. And what we're saying is that it's not, or at least the government hasn't so far proven that it is. It hasn't talked about this law in terms of the First Amendment scrutiny and the specificity that the First Amendment requires.
So what then would be a more appropriate solution?
Well, there's a few things. One of the reasons it's hard to talk about what a better solution would be is because the justification for this law keeps on changing. Up until yesterday, maybe, those who support this law have been very strongly saying that this law is not about the content on TikTok at all. This is all about just some national security threat that we can't really tell you about. That it's just dangerous for China to have all this data about U.S. users. I think what we saw from your interview yesterday and from a lot of the statements made on the floor today, that this is very much concerns about the content that U.S. users get from TikTok. We heard this yesterday. I believe Representative Kristen Murphy talked about how how in China they get healthy content about healthy living and STEM education, and in the United States it's about drug paraphernalia and over-sexualization. So we know this is clearly about content. It's very difficult under the First Amendment for the government to restrict content. So if the goal,
where are all my First Amendment warriors? You know, the number of especially Republican politicians who love to talk about the First Amendment voting for this.
All of this bill is to say we don't like the content you're getting. That's a very difficult thing for the government to do.
So if TikTok is forced to divest, how does that infringe upon one's First Amendment rights? Because if I want to post on TikTok, I can still post whatever I'm posting, no matter who owns it.
Well, there's two things that could happen, right? One is that it will just shut down. It won't have a non-Chinese owner. That could happen. Then those who previously used the site and received information from it wouldn't get that anymore. If they're sold to a U.S. company or sold to other ownership, then that still may affect First Amendment rights because the new owners may have different editorial policies. In fact, it seems like, based on the comments of the sponsors gave on your show yesterday, is that they wanted to have different editorial policies. They wanted to show different content to U.S. users and to treat their content in different ways. So again, that's an infringement on the user's First Amendment rights. So what Congress wants is for them to get different information. They're doing that through having different ownership and different editorial policies. I think we've all seen what a change in ownership can mean for the editorial policies of a social media company and for users' experiences with it and whether they want to engage with that service.
You and your organization
He's referring to Twitter/X,
have called instead for comprehensive data privacy legislation. How exactly would that work, and how would that solve this TikTok problem?
So again, this really relies on if the problem is a data privacy problem, and this is.
How do you feel about China banning all of U.S. apps? A lot of people are bringing that up. Since China bans our social networks, it makes just as much sense to ban theirs. I thought that we weren't China, though. I thought that America was against all things Chinese communist government related. I thought our whole thing was censorship is bad, freedom of speech is good. No, that's stupid to be like, oh, China has banned our stuff, so we're going to ban China. No, that's not their reasoning. No. Like, you look at the difference between what is the Chinese TikTok called? Douyin, for instance. Okay, you look at Douyin in China. I just said that very bossy. You look at Douyin in China versus TikTok. Douyin is very censored. Like, for example, pro-LGBTQ content on Douyin. No, you're not going to see it. It's very censored. But That's not what the TikTok, which is the non-Chinese version, looks like. What you doing? The CEO is Singaporean. Yes. Yeah. Chinese people aren't even. Yeah, because they have Douyin. They have their version of TikTok. Also, China hasn't banned all US apps. They just require you to adhere to their censorship requirements. Right. So but it doesn't matter. That argument being, oh, China has censored us, so we're going to censor an app that is owned by a Chinese company, but that they haven't been able to provide. Okay, what this guy is saying here too is that Congress isn't providing concrete evidence that China is exerting their influence in harmful ways on TikTok and TikTok users. Like, to the point that it necessitates a removal of TikTok or TikTok being Chinese owned. No, they just want they want this to be in the hands of America. It truly is. If anyone's going to have sex with my sister, it's going to be me. Most of Congress are told to even understand. Yeah, they call it. That's where the whole tic tac thing. They're like, tic tac. We got to stop the tic tac.
This is what some people have said early on to justify the bill, a concern that
Did Will
too much U.S.
that?
user
No,
data was flowing to the
You need to remember, I can hear Will. He can't hear me.
Chinese government, and then that itself represented a national security concern. And we agree.
Okay, I thought the issue was more that China can get all the data from U.S. users. That's what they're saying. They're like, yo, we got to protect Americans from China taking their data and exerting influence on them. Hello? Every fucking app and social media platform steals our goddamn data. And they've been doing it for years. How do you think Mark Zuckerberg became a billionaire? The US does the same thing. TikTok uses the same data tracking methods as all of these platforms do. I'm not yelling at you, Chatter, by the way. I want you to know that. I'm trying to point out why this is bullshit. Yeah, steal it and sell it. Of course. No, Congress is 81% of the House members who voted for this, claiming that they're protecting Americans, claiming that they gotta make sure we're not getting influenced by foreign adversaries. No, it's bullshit. And it just is so apparent that when it comes to what Congress mobilizes on and what they get all bipartisan on has nothing to do with things that actually will help Americans. They don't do this on healthcare. They don't do this on the minimum wage. They don't do this on affordable housing. They don't do this on fucking anything. Literally anything. They don't do this on gun violence. Nothing. They don't do this on data transparency. They don't. Oh my God, I'm so mad. I'm like the guy in the TikTok. Where's the fucking data transparency bills? If you're so concerned about our data being stolen by TikTok, which our data has been stolen for years now by every platform, Google, you name it. Where are the bills to protect us from being tracked? To make these companies have to be transparent with our data accumulation. Cambridge Analytica happened and nothing happened in the wake of it. Right. It's a very convenient idea to sell idea of privacy without doing shit about it. Yes, it's bullshit. We are all that guy. We should all be angry. We should. You got a shiny forehead? Yeah, because I'm pissed off. You should be too. Yeah, I'm glad this forehead's shiny. It means that I'm seeing this shit. But we should be able to make a deal. If they ban TikTok, we get minimum wage. It's like, oh, you guys have shown us that you can come together and get this done. So, healthcare, please. We need better data privacy laws in every state. I mean, yeah, like how I just, it's too many problems to state, but just through the course of the year and a half I've been streaming and everything that we've brought up on this stream, you know, like when we were talking about, oh God, what was it the other day? With internet usage in Korea. We watched that whole video about how there is no there are no laws in place to protect consumers from being charged differing amounts to of internet, like when they use the internet. There's no protections there. And it's what happens here too, where these companies, these private companies, can just keep charging more and more and more, and there's no protections there. The government has my best interests in mind. It's okay. Yeah, I just I don't know. It feels like there's been a real turning point, especially in this last year. I feel as if a lot of people have woken up or realized who the problem is. You know, and it's it's platforms like TikTok where then people have spoken up and been like, hold the fuck on. Here's what I have to say. And millions of people will then hear it and go, yeah, actually, I agree with this person. I'm fucking sick and tired of it too. TBH, this TikTok thing is least of my worries. The rest of the shit's but it's all related. That's what you have to see. It's all related. What's happening in Gaza, the billions that we're spending over there to bomb Palestinians, which includes a lot of children. It's all connected. You know, you have you have major Zionist orgs like the ADL who have been pushing for this TikTok ban because TikTok has been the platform that has allowed pro-Palestinian content to be seen by millions. Mike Gallagher, who spearheaded the TikTok bill, he's a Republican from Wisconsin. He is a staunch Zionist. He and Jonathan Greenblatt and all these other Zionists have talked about how TikTok is a problem for Israel. So, like, it's all connected. Being able to influence U.S. policy like that is a reason why money in politics is anti-democratic. Right. I mean, AIPAC is gearing up to spend $100 million this next election cycle. They're going to be primarying anyone, and especially those who have been the loudest voices in Congress against Israel. Like, that's fucking insane that is allowed to happen. That lobbying groups who seek to protect the interests of a foreign state are able to spend $100 million plus on U.S. elections and control U.S. politicians who then make sure that they protect the interests of a foreign state. That's anti-democratic. The only lobby group bigger than, well, the crazy thing too is that AIPAC spends the most money when it comes to pro-Israel lobbying groups, but Christians United for Israel membership wise is the largest pro-Israel group. I said this to someone on Twitter who was like, oh, so pro-Israel lobbying groups equals Jews in America. I said, no. Okay, I see where you're trying to go there. Christians United for Israel boasts 5 million members. They spend much less than AIPAC, but they are very influential and were like one of the main reasons that Donald Trump recognized Jerusalem as Israel, or as Israel's capital, or a holy city. Christians United for Israel. So anyway, anywho, the point being, yeah, that this is all connected, okay? All of this. The fact that we still have gun violence on a level that no other country in the world has, and especially not one that considers themselves to be the greatest country in the world, that we have rising costs of things like housing while the minimum wage has stayed stagnant. Like, all of these serious issues that impede the livelihoods of Americans, all of this, and then plus, all of like the lobbying money and the money that we're sending over to Israel, and the ban on TikTok, like it's all connected. And it's China's fault. Trying to understand your point. You're against the ban, but you would agree there needs to be something done about data scraping, algorithm different. Absolutely. I think it's a serious fucking problem that every social media platform, every app tracks us, harvests our data, and sells it. Of course. I think it's like a no-brainer that you would be against an outright ban of a social media platform like TikTok, but be for data transparency laws, holding companies accountable so they don't harvest our online corpses and sell every fucking thing that there is to sell on us. Will it be fully banned? So right now, it has passed the House. It still has to go to the Senate. It's not clear right now what's going to happen with the Senate. We're not like, there's no, oh yeah, this is definitely going to pass in the Senate, or it's definitely not going to pass. The Senate and the House, they are very different. If it passes the Senate, it goes to Biden. Biden has already expressed that he's down. He's down for the tic-tac-toe takeover. And then the company that owns TikTok, the Chinese company ByteDance that owns TikTok, has 6 months to sell to an American company. They have to get rid of it. And if they don't do that in 6 months, then they will be banned from app stores. So like TikTok, you can't, TikTok can't be on, Apple App Store. I'm just here to hear your take on Jimmy Dean's breakfast. I actually really like Jimmy Dean's breakfast sandwiches. Signing that so close to an election would be suicide. Yeah, I mean, there's been talk that like this won't happen until after November, because even though they are acting incredibly riskily here, they still do recognize that this is really unpopular with young voters in particular, and they are potentially committing election suicide. So there is that they're like, maybe we should wait till after November. Anyway, people are predicting it will die in the Senate. Yeah, there's that, but mostly I've seen predictions of just, we are not sure the path this is going to take. There's not a there's not a predetermined path through the Senate right now.
That the flow of U.S. user data is a serious problem, not just for national security reasons, but also for individual privacy purposes. But you address privacy concerns by passing privacy laws.
Thank you.
What we do not have in the U.S. is comprehensive data privacy regulation.
That's what I'm fucking saying.
That controls how much data companies can collect about their users in the first place, when, to the extent they can retain such data, and how they can share such data. If companies, TikTok or anybody else, were not collecting and...
Okay, so like basically... Okay, I'm trying to give an analogy here. There's a group of people who are setting a house on fire. All right. Here's my analogy. It's probably gonna be really bad. Group of people who are doing arson over here. And then there's one person over here, and the government, and they're also doing arson. And the government goes, no, we must protect the people who live in this house that is being set on fire. But here's how we're going to do it. We're going to remove that one individual who's also doing arson over here, and we're going to give it to the group of people over here who have been doing arson as well. And then the people in the house will be saved. They'll be good to go.
Retaining and sharing so much data in the first place, you wouldn't need to single out TikTok for such exceptional treatment. It's hard to take Congress seriously about data privacy if they don't pass data privacy laws, if they don't look at how TikTok and other social media companies retain user data, and if they don't look at how data brokers then purchase and then redistribute that data to lots of actors, including governments and including our enemies.
David Green with the Electronic Frontier Foundation, thanks for your time and your insights this evening.
Thanks for having me.
ByteDance doesn't sell our data to the data brokers that all the other platforms do. That's a huge part of why they're fucking pissed and want to force them to play ball. Look, I think it's something where I'm not saying that's not true. It's something where you can recognize the problems with TikTok that are just problems with every social media company. Okay, anything that we are involved with online on the internet, you can recognize those issues, but also recognize the difference between a platform like TikTok and something like Meta and Twitter, which is not staring down the barrel of the gun that's going to ban them because they are American owned. First off, great blazer. Thank you. Can you explain to me how TikTok would influence people's politics in a way that Instagram Reels doesn't? Look, I'm not on TikTok, okay? But I know way more people use TikTok. TikTok is the #1 app for young people in this country. And it also, Meta, which owns Instagram, suppresses certain information in a way that TikTok does not. And the example that we keep using is Palestine versus Israel. So on all the social media platforms, pro-Palestinian content is still more than pro-Israel content. But if you look at the gap on a platform like TikTok, which granted a lot more people use, but then on Facebook, which there are reports from like the Human Rights Watch that have discovered Meta is suppressing Palestinian information on Facebook and Instagram. Like that's one way. That's one way where young people use TikTok more for politics because that's just that's A, their platform of choice, and B, shit doesn't get suppressed, and C, it's just more effective. It's more effective than something like Instagram Reels. I don't know who the hell uses Instagram Reels besides companies now who are like trying to sell you something. I don't know. To me, in my own personal experience, it seems as if Instagram became so heavily a marketplace where you were just inundated with ad after ad after ad, and it wasn't really something that people enjoyed, especially when you had a rise of something like TikTok, where, yes, TikTok is very addictive, but you're not constantly just getting hit with like all these different advertisements. And Instagram Reels, yes, a lot of people will repost from TikTok, so I don't think it's the primary place for uploading content. It's mostly going to be repurposed content from something like on TikTok. TikTok is quicker than X in getting news out. I mean, certainly nowadays, once Twitter became X. But yeah, I don't use TikTok, but I know how many people do use TikTok for news, which I will say this for any social media platform. If that is where you get all your news, that's not sufficient. But it doesn't change the fact that there are important videos and important news being disseminated on a platform like TikTok. I just always say it's good to get information outside of a social media app, or like verify what you're seeing, because every app does have disinformation all over the place. It's like